how I turned $100 in less than 90 days into $5 million.
How did you do that?
The whole purpose of this show is to engage with business owners and be able to answer questions for people that will give them some insight and perspective on how to grow and scale a business. Not only leadership, but real life examples. This is the golden moment. I would do business with you right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of 10X Owners Live.
Hello. I love it when you guys wave because we can actually see you wave. Like Jeff and Karina, I can see you waving. Carrie, Dan Edwards, Dom. Hi, Dom. It's good to see you. IG Andrew, I see you. Lauren Paquette. Like, it's just good to see you guys. We're like, You're real people. We're excited to have you.
Look how serious Frank talks.
Frank, are you real serious? Yeah, Frank. Like, let's put a smile on.
It's awesome, man.
We're happy to have you here.
All right.
So 10X Owners Live, this is a show that we do every single Tuesday night for business owners to learn how to scale and grow. Because one thing that we know is that it's not exactly easy to do that if you've never done it before and you don't have the right guidance and tips. So Brandon Dawson over here has had some experience in buying businesses, selling businesses, being successful at exiting businesses. He also has had some failures in his business, and he is a total expert in all things business.
Well, thank you. That's quite an introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're amazing.
As your wife, I'm expecting an equally as good introduction.
Put first time. If this is your first time on our show, put first time here. Just put first. Just put the number 1 if this is your first time. There we go.
Hi, Michael.
There you go.
Hi,
there you look at all these first timers. This is amazing.
Snyder.
All right. So just so you know, we are husband and wife.
That is right.
Some people, sometimes we forget to tell everybody. We get through the show and they think, boy, those two are awful comfortable.
Oh, it's a little weird, a little too close. It's never too close because, we're in this thing. But we're happy to have you guys here. This is Brandon Dawson.
Lots of first timers. I'm Brandon Dawson, co-founder and CEO of Cardone Ventures. And this is the remarkable Natalie Dawson. She is responsible for operations and marketing at Cardone Ventures.
That's right. And we are excited to talk to you guys tonight. We've got some good stuff planned.
We got lots of good things to talk about. So first and foremost, before we get into the topic of tonight, I've told my guys I was going to shoot a podcast today. And the title of the podcast was going to be How I Turned $100 in less than 90 days into $5 million.
How did you do that?
So I just want everybody to know, when you know how to make money, you learn the secrets on how to make money.
I like
this. So we're going to title this How Brandon Dawson Turned $100 into $5 million in 90 days.
Are you going to do the podcast right now, or are you just going to leave us on this massive?
Oh, well, we can talk about it during the show. I just wanted everybody to know that's what the title was going to be.
Wow, that's exciting. So the title of the podcast we have, guys, just so you know, like, this is how Brandon and I catch up. We don't spend too much time together because
not too much. It's
overwhelming. We're doing things separate. And so I'm excited to hear, like, I didn't know that there was $100 that turned into all of this money.
You did. You just can't remember.
Oh,
I got so many deals going on. You can't remember all the deals.
That's fair.
You can't remember all the deals.
Maybe I don't remember them because you don't tell me about them.
Yeah.
That could be.
You're in it.
That's fair.
So you know now.
So are you going to tell them or what? Like, we're waiting on.
If anybody, who's waiting? Who cares?
Look at all of them.
Maybe they don't even care.
Look, everybody.
Who here? Put in the chat if you want to know how to turn $100 into $5 million.
Sherry says, "I care." In all caps.
There you go. Okay, listen. I'm going to tell you guys because I think this whole night we're going to be talking about how to budget and forecast your business, right? How to set targets to make money, and then how to set targets to spend money. Those are two things you need to learn in business, okay? And the problem is most of you, for some reason, have been taught how to spend the money before you've been taught how to make the money. Okay. So this is why 2/3 of all businesses fail every 5 years and why 97% fail every 10, because business owners are really good at spending money. And for some reason they struggle at making money. And I know that because the chief complaint for why businesses fail is no demand for my product or service. So here's how I turned $100 into 5 million in 90 days. So when we were thinking about building a building here, buying an existing building or building a location, we were going and I was making offers on different properties in Scottsdale, Arizona for the Grant Cardone West Coast division of Cardone,
honestly
everything.
toured at least 80 properties over the course
And I
of
made
18
offers.
months.
I actually had accepted offers on 3 or 4 properties.
Yes.
And then after doing the due diligence, I backed out because I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So here's the deal. So we were looking, one night I was sitting in my condo. Natalie was in bed.
You could tell the whole story.
No.
You should tell the whole story.
I might have been playing. I might have been.
Our
Look,
friends.
for anybody that gets on their kids, I'm just going to tell you right now. I'm just going to tell you, for anybody who gets on your kids about playing PlayStation, that PlayStation made us $5 million. So just so you know, I was 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. So I went out, I fired up a little PlayStation action. And I noticed as I was looking out the window of my condo that the building across the street, which is one of the most beautiful buildings in all of Arizona, I'm looking at it and I noticed the lights went on the 6th floor. And I'm like, why is there somebody on the 6th floor of the Class A office building across from me? I've never seen that. And what I noticed is someone was walking through there and there was no furniture or anything in there. And I was like, what? The building's empty. Somebody moved out of there. And
Did
I'm
you think
thinking
it was a mirage.
No, I was thinking like COVID, somebody bailed, took all their furniture. And so the next day I told Natalie, hey, I noticed the 6th floor is empty at the building across street. I'll call my broker. Let's go tour it. So we met the building managers here and we were touring the building and looking at everything. And they said, well, we can't really lease the 6th floor because somebody else on the 6th floor has an option on it, but we could show you the half of the 5th floor. So we came down to the 5th floor and they were showing us, and I go, what's going on in that space over there? Because we walked by and I saw the glass doors, but they were all locked up. And the space looks stunning. And they're like, oh, that's a long story, whatever. That's leased by somebody else. I'm like, okay. So I tell my broker, so this is situational awareness. You want to learn how to make money? Okay. I always talk about the left side of the balance sheet, the right side of the balance sheet. The left side of the balance sheet is intellectual ignorance and intellectual arrogance. The right side of the balance sheet is intellectual awareness and intellectual curiosity. Now, when I tell business owners, if you want to succeed, you have to live on the right side of the balance sheet. So as soon as somebody says, you don't want to know anything about that, it's this old story, old news. First thing I do is I do this to my broker. He looks at me and I'm like, go call those people, find out what's going on. So we find out that a company had leased this space a year and a half previous. The former founders of the company spent $5 million building this space out. State-of-the-art furniture, state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art everything in this 25,000 square feet. So
I get it.
I knew the light bulb would go on.
Wow, it took me. You're like 80% of the way through the story.
So she just me making $5 million anymore is just like for her, she just forgets about it. I learned how to make so much money. $5 million doesn't mean anything to her. She
targets.
Just completely forgets about it.
Bigger targets.
Anyhow, so look, I start to go. I find out what the deal is here. So what we find out is the company that was in here during COVID got acquired by another company. And that company moved all those employees to another place that was less expensive to manage. Can you get rid of the message on the TV? Yeah. And so we tracked down who the buyer was of the business that was in here. And so we reached out to him. I'm like, hey man, you got all this space. No one's there. What's going on? And they're like, well, we moved them. The space is empty. Now understand, no one had actually ever walked in this space and worked. Tags were on the chairs when we did the tour. And so I asked them how long the lease was, how much they put into it. In the lease negotiations, I agreed to take the lease over and pay it for 6 years. There were some other negotiations that were confidential. I can't talk about it. But one of the things I did is I put at the end of the lease term, everything that's in this facility, I get to keep for $100. Now, we negotiated the lease term. We negotiated some other things that they were sensitive about because the company that was coming in here was a personal, personal ID theft type company. So we negotiated all this. Well, I pushed them hard on some of the other terms. So they finally agreed to the terms. We agreed to taking over the 6 years. And they never addressed the $100 in exchange for everything that's in this building. So I got $5 million of infrastructure, technology, TVs, Crestron auto programming, whatchamacallits, security, digital security gates,
all of the whatchamacallits,
all the furniture moves up and down. I mean, state of the art.
Mm-hmm.
And they spent $5 million on all this stuff that's in here. And as long as we serve out the term of the lease, we get to keep that $5 million. Now, the reason I bring this up is that not only was a great deal, but it allowed us to be up and running instantly. Now, think about it. If we would have built our building, we would have been screwing around building the building for 2 years. It would have taken all our energy. If we would have gone to another location and we had to do the tenant improvements, that would have taken 8 or 9 months. Then we would have had to buy all the equipment. And we already know, because in Miami, we're moving into our space and it's half the size.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a process.
We'll be $1.5 million out of pocket just to be up and running in that space. Now, I bring this up because for those of you that are thinking about different ways that you can have people invest in your business, one of the simple, best ways is to take over somebody else's mistake. And I bring this up because I just dropped a series with Grant Cardone on how to buy a business with little to no money.
It hasn't been launched yet.
It's on my Instagram. It has to be launched.
No, that's the pre-launch. They don't know what the course is.
Oh shit. All right, freak. Don't tell anybody what I just told you. So what are we titling it?
It's the freedom.
Oh yeah, the freedom.
For the next week until Monday.
Look, there's $10 trillion of wealth transfer happening in the next 10 years. It's actually more like 33 trillion. But there's a specific 10 trillion that's going to be baby boomers retiring in business. And you know what's crazy about this is that it's not only, I'm not just telling you this, I'm going to tell you, like, here is a living example. Natalie's mom and dad. Natalie's dad built a state-of-the-art surgery center up in Vancouver, Washington. Mm-hmm. And they both retired this year. Mm-hmm. They basically are just turning it over to whoever comes in and takes it over. Mm-hmm. That surgery center is like $1.5 million. So the idea here is, I can't believe I gave away what our little thing is.
Me either. I can't believe you gave it away.
It was like a
and you told a really long story, and now the story doesn't tie in without the giveaway. What are you gonna do now? I know.
Well, you guys can't show this podcast until we announce that. So the point is, look, there's lots of ways to get people to invest in your business, and there's lots of ways for you to invest in somebody else's business. And we're going to be doing this series, and I'm very excited about it.
I think the transferable concept for me in this is when it comes to making investments, like taking on a building versus continuing to stay remote, or maybe even opening a second location as a business owner. Sometimes you don't know what it's going to be that's going to create that confidence for you to move forward with one decision versus another. And for us, we use numbers in the form of a budget and a forecast, and understanding, okay, if we hit these certain aspects, we will then feel confident in moving forward with certain decisions that we need to make. And when it came to buying or leasing this space here, it was a huge consideration for us. And we took that down at the same time that we were taking down the Miami space. And so for us, how do we transfer that to business owners for, okay, what's the right time to move? Maybe if you're a solopreneur and you're moving into a physical location, what's that time frame? What should that actually look like from a budgeting and forecast standpoint? If you already have an existing location, but you want the confidence to move into a second and maybe a third, and ideally let's 10x everything and have 10 or 15 locations, like what is that thing that you need to look at? And we have a worksheet that if you are a business owner and you are wanting to know, okay, how do I make this assessment? How do I make this determination? This would be the worksheet that we would say, okay, you start here and you start going through all of these different components so that you can start to build a forecast and budget that will allow you to be confident. So I would love it if we could get the worksheet in the chat. This is a free worksheet. You can download it, fill it out.
Yeah, for all those you driving around right now, touching your phone, trying to see the worksheet.
I don't see anyone driving around.
I'm just kidding. Right there in the bottom right.
Oh, okay. Wait, I do see the driving. Yep.
Watch
out.
So he says, not me. So look, yeah, you didn't know. I worked in the hearing impaired business my whole life. I can read lips.
Watch it.
So look here, what we're going to talk to you guys about is a real simple way to think about, and I know this seems rudimentary, but this worksheet is to get you to write down your targeted revenues and your targeted costs. And underneath the worksheet, I want you to write in, I don't think you guys put a column in there for number of employees, right?
No.
So there's some simple targets that we want to teach you. We've been talking about finance. We actually have a finance workshop. When's that workshop coming up?
The finance workshop is on March 5th and 6th. It's called the Finance Essentials Workshop with our EVP of Finance, Mr. Jeff Jessen.
Oh, look at that guy.
Here in Scottsdale, Arizona at our Grant Cardone Ventures headquarters. If you're interested in this workshop, please scan the QR code, or you can go over to cardoneventures.com/finance in order to get registered and signed up for that. Or you can shop in the chat. We have sales team members that are in there and actively having conversations. But this Finance Essentials Workshop does go through this targeting process for you to be able to have much more clarity. And to me, again, it's not about being a freak about knowing numbers. Like, neither one of us are like super analytical people that want to understand the data just for the sake of it. But what we're trying to get every single day, when Brandon and I wake up every single morning, it is a game of confidence. What do we need to know in order to have confidence in making the next move? And as a business owner, there are so many different decisions that you're making and strategies that either you're saying, yes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to put everything I have into it, or you back off. And those small back off movements on a daily basis continue to erode your confidence, which then if you don't have this data and you don't have numbers and you're not clear on what your targets are, you can't do anything to make pivots and you can't do anything to make changes, which is the whole game of growing and scaling a business.
Yeah. The whole point so to her point, business is a confidence game. So if I know what my monthly targeted revenue is, I know what my monthly cost structure is. I know what the delta is in between. And then if I identify the number of employees and I'm targeting between $250,000 and $500,000 of revenue per employee, I've got the basis to build a big business. And so like she said, when we were thinking about, okay, we're going to add these locations and what's the cost, we also went through our profit and loss statement and said, where else are we spending money that we could reallocate to a more permanent, better value? So listen, this is the third week in a row that we're talking about finance.
Finance. Did you mean to call it finance?
That's just what we call it. Hey, look, I tell people when we're making money, man, it's fun.
It is fun.
When you're not making money in business, it ain't fun. What are you looking at, Dimitri?
Why do you think
Why are you looking at me like, do I look funny? Do I look funny,
okay,
Dimitri?
all right.
You got a big grin on your face.
Out.
I like playing with the mic, Dimitri. Dimitri, hey, everybody give a round of applause for Dimitri. He's keeping everything running right now. There we go, Dimitri. This is all for you, brother. This is all for you. So look, when you learn how to make money work for you, you no longer have to work for your money.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think I made that quote up?
No.
Yeah. She's too smart. She reads too many books.
Been around the block.
When you can pull time and money forward and then put the money and then get time to multiply it for you, that's the winning equation. For anybody that has not been to the Finance Essentials Workshop, this is where we teach 2 days with Captain America, Jeff Jessen.
I think you call him Superman.
I know, but he looks more like Captain America.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody said Captain America.
So before we open it up for questions, yes, here is the QR code for the Finance Essentials Workshop. Again, that's happening in just a couple of weekends, March 5th and 6th in Scottsdale. And shoot the QR code.
And somebody put in the chat, hey everybody, you can also come out and see our $100 worth of furniture.
That's right.
That was pretty funny.
You mean our $5 million worth of furniture?
Somebody put our $100.
That's hilarious.
Cost $100.
No, that's awesome. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on this because I have my own thoughts. But when it comes to the financials of a business, if you know that you're not hitting target, or you know that you don't even have targets established, that you're just continuing to do what most businesses do, which is either steady, they're doing the same revenue year over year, or they're declining. Why do you think that people aren't interested in actually looking at it? Like, what prevents somebody knowing that they're running a business, they're operating a business, they are responsible for employees, responsible for their customers? What stops them from actually saying, I want to open this up, I want to figure this out? What do you think that is?
Fear.
Fear of what? Like, break out the fear. And guys in the chat, we can see the chat. So if you're in there, scared to know the truth, okay. Fear.
Yeah.
What else?
Fear
Fear
of
we don't
failure.
like the numbers. Okay.
Yep.
Fear of not knowing, which is so fascinating, right? Because this is what I would have thought too. It's the fear of not knowing, it's the overhead, it's not having enough. But it's this funny thing where if you don't actually see it and you don't look at it, there's nothing that's going to be done about it. And yet there's still this space between knowing this and taking action in order to have a different result.
Yeah. It's like the guy, I think I talked about this last week. It's like the guy that was role playing with me and had a $6 million business. And I said, would you spend $350,000 to have a $25 million business? And he said, no, absolutely not. I would not invest $350,000 to have a $25 million business. And I said, well, boy, you got an uphill battle then, because if you're telling me you want a $25 million business, you realize that to have a $25 million business, you're going to have to spend $21 million a year. Like, if you can't get over spending $350,000 now, how's it going to feel when you're spending $21 million? And this is what stops business owners from growing and scaling, is they think about how much they spend. That is the wrong equation.
Yeah.
You need to be thinking about how much you can make. So if you're spending 21 million and you're making 4 million versus spending 6 million and making 300,000, what's a better return on your investment of time, energy, and effort? The only reason you wouldn't do that is if you didn't have the confidence that you could do it. So the reason this confidence, when Natalie kicked off earlier, she was talking about confidence. Confidence is everything.
Yeah.
And when you get beat up and you get a few bad phone calls because you're not generating enough money or you're spending too much, it shakes your confidence.
Well, and I like what John said, fear of failing my employees and their families. But again, guys, it's like, I really appreciate your transparency, and hats off to everybody who's being really honest in the chat. Like, I think business owners don't understand this about other business owners. We see this every single day. This is the type of work that we do. This is what our teams focus on. But I don't think that there is a lot of transparency about how most business owners don't look at these things. And until we can acknowledge the 4 A's, until we can acknowledge that it's an issue. Like, if we want to grow and scale our businesses, do we have to know our financial statements? Can all of us agree? Like, yeah, we probably we need to acknowledge that. Number 2,
Accept it.
Accept it.
Acknowledge you got an issue. Accept it. Don't resist it.
Okay.
Lean into it.
What's step number 3?
Take action to what you want.
Okay. What prevents people from the accept to the action?
What stands between people of the action is either acknowledging it. Most people live in denial. They defer, they deflect, they blame other people. They become a victim of circumstance. They don't own where they're at. So they can't move to action towards what they want because they're a victim of where they're at. Okay. So the first thing that stands between action and where you're at is acceptance. Acknowledgement. The second is acceptance. Now, once I know, like, if I make a mistake, I'm like, oh man, I made a mistake. I can't believe I did that. You know what, Natalie, I just can't believe all the mistakes. Now, I lived in this way for 3 years till my mentor said, quit being a little bee.
Hallelujah.
And so what happens is you acknowledge it. Like, I can't believe I made all these mistakes. I screwed this up. I did this wrong. But now you live in a world of what ifs. So this is where we talk about there's the way it could be, there's the way it should be, there's the way you'd like it to be, but we live in a world of the way it is. It is what it is. So now you have to accept that, because if you're thinking and spending time on other things, it's pulling you off your action target.
Mhm.
So the faster you can acknowledge, okay, I have a problem, the faster you can say, okay, it is a problem. It's not getting me where I want to go. I'm committed to change. Now, the technical move that people struggle with is, how do I change? Well, you change by then picking a target and committing to the target and going after the target. And as you start to act towards what you want, and you start having slow, systematic wins, then you go to the 4th A, which is attack speed. You just go after it. You just go all in, because you're so confident that if you take certain actions, you're going to get certain results. And then if you want to really blow it up, you go grab a few other people and you say, let me show you what I'm doing. And now you magnify and amplify through others what you can prove works. This, by its own definition, is how you build into the confidence. Now, what we teach in all our programs is how to technically go about amplifying and multiplying through other people once you identify exactly what works and how you're doing it.
Couldn't agree more. Do you want to open it up for questions?
Sure. Let's take a few questions.
Why are you so smiley?
You're so cute.
Who do you want to unmute first?
All right. Let's see. Let's take Jackie.
Jackie, come on down.
Thanks, guys, for taking my question. I actually have 2 questions, and it's related to Natalie's book, Teamwork, rather than being a financial question.
Sure.
I've spent some time, and I have 2 questions, and I'll ask them both, and then I'll zip it, and you can carry it from there. I've written out the job descriptions, and I did a fairly thorough job of the objectives, and they're supposed to be quantifiable and measurable. How does that tie into KPIs? My first question. And the second question is, I've been working on the onboarding part, and I'm a little bit confused about how I will do that. Approximately 1/2 of my staff are landscape laborers, and the mentality of half of those are living paycheck to Wednesday. It doesn't seem to matter what you pay them. They don't go much further than that. So how do I, or am I thinking improperly about doing less onboarding for them? How do I think through that?
Great questions.
They're my
So
questions.
on the first one, when it comes to the objectives in your job descriptions, I think of the job description as like, this is the base role. This is what we are paying somebody, whatever we negotiated their salary to be. So if it's a $50,000 salaried position, everything in that objectives column, everything in that competency column, all of that stuff is related to, this is what I'm paying this person $50,000 for. Now, metrics are associated with some of those things. Some of them can have metrics tied to them, others can't. A good example of this might be cleaning the kitchen out if it's a front office team member. Like, I'm not going to tie a metric. It's kind of silly to do that. Where incentive comp ties into this, and this is where this finance piece is so wrapped into people, is yes, you have the base job, but in order for your business to grow, there should be additional targets that person can make incentive off of in order for them to say, okay, if I hit these things, if I do these extra things that are above my base job description, I am able to make more money for the organization. It's not a given. It's not for sure going to happen, but if I do hit these things, this is the financial benefit to me as the team member. So that's where we break out objectives versus the additional metrics and or key performance indicators that are really tied to the long-term growth of the organization and the things that really move the business forward. When it comes to onboarding for team members, I would share with them things that have inspired you in your growth journey. So for us, we have 4 books. It is like a boot camp going through our onboarding process. Any Cardinal Ventures team members in the chat can attest to this. It's like so intensive, but think of our labor pool. We are hiring business professionals. We want them to be well read on our concepts. We want them to understand our courses and our business philosophies. It has to be this boot camp. I would still encourage you to at least have one book, but maybe it's not one of the ones that I recommended. Maybe it's the one that really helped you think bigger. 10X is such a beautiful book to put in an onboarding process because all of you guys are here, I'm sure at some point, because you've heard of 10X or there was something about that drew you into this community, drawed you, whatever. We make up words sometimes. It was something that drew you into this community. So giving those team members the opportunity to force them to read something that could entirely change the direction of their lives so that they don't have to live paycheck to paycheck, but they actually start to understand potentially for the first time what it is going to take in the form of energy and effort and results and focus to get to where they want to go. It's the greatest gift that you can give anybody. Now, does it have to look like ours and the one that I recommend in the book? No, but I would recommend, especially for team members who are making lower hourly rates, the 10X rule is the perfect place for them to start because they can start to attack and achieve their goals if they take it to heart. And you're creating this opportunity by literally forcing them to read this book.
Very nice.
Awesome.
All right.
Who's the next person that you want to go to?
Let's go to
Justin. Justin plus 3. Are we going to get 3 questions out of Justin?
Nah, just one.
Just one. Hi, guys.
Good to see you, bud.
Hey,
Hi.
how you guys doing?
Good.
My question is, it's in terms of the finance part. We're setting our goals for the year and want to figure out, how many employees we want to have in order to achieve our goals of our revenue per employee. When I was doing it, I'm trying to figure out if I should be including our installers, which are they're pretty much cost of goods sold. So every single time we do about $1 million, we need 2 full-time installers, or we spend
How much do you pay them?
So I paid them last year was $160,000.
No, but okay, so think of them as they're 1099 employees, right?
Correct.
So you got to look at how much would you pay those 2 installers a year if they were working for you?
If they work for me, they're more than 2, so it's a whole crew. So
so you got to add up. So look, I always tell everybody use $85,000 of labor as a baseline for your revenue per employee.
Right.
So if you've got 5 1099 employees that all added up, you're using, and they all added up to 85,000, then you would equate that to 1 employee. So now you want to have $250,000 to $500,000 of revenue for that $85,000 of cost.
Right. So when I do that, it's like, let's say, for example, we sell 3 million this year, then they will be included in, it'll be 6 employees.
That's right.
Right. And my revenue per employee just maintains, even if 2 of our guys, me and someone else, sells, $1.5 million each. So my question is, should I be including that still in our revenue per employee when their cost of goods sold? Because I'm subbing the work out.
Yeah, but you also have other costs of goods sold, right?
Right, just materials and
so you're identifying as labor.
Right.
So use that matrix.
Okay.
So if you do $3 million of revenue, if your target's $500,000 of revenue per employee or 250 of revenue per employee, you just divide it and do the math. Because the idea is if you could go from 3 million to 10 million and still maintain 500,000 of revenue, that's what you want to see in the scaling process. So just so you understand, this is a key performance indicator to know if in the scaling process, you're still able to add revenue and still grow without diminishing the value that's created. So the big mistake business owners go to is as they're trying to grow, they start compromising revenue per employee. So when they start out and they're 4 or 5 employees, they could be doing $500,000 or $300,000 or $250,000 of revenue per employee. And then all of a sudden, as they're trying to grow and scale, that number keeps going down as they're going up. And that's very dangerous and what gets businesses in trouble. So all of a sudden you wake up, you've got a business that's doing $5 million in revenue and you got 50 employees and your revenue per employee is $100,000 of revenue per employee. And now you're not making any money. So now you got a big problem. So you want to put those key performance indicators together and always manage the revenue growth of the business against what you're counting as employees, which is a cost basis of $85,000 a year. And that'll tell you if you're making money or not.
Right. So when I did that, let's say, so I have me and someone else that sells. Let's say the more we sell, we can sell 10 million each, right? But then the cost, the labor cost goes up also. So then if I add someone else in, like that takes over production or something like that, or another employee, it makes that number drop. So then even when I bring another sales guy on, it just seems like the numbers.
Well, if you bring a sales guy on, that sales guy should generate, if you bring one salesperson on, they should generate $500,000 in new sales for the one salesperson.
Right.
If you're doing the same sales and you bring on a new salesperson, you're now going backwards.
You said if I bring on a salesperson and they do the same sales?
Yeah, now you're going backwards. It's an easy indicator.
Right.
Just like if you went and doubled your revenue and so you had to hire 2 more installers, you're growing at the same efficiency you're currently at. If you went and doubled your revenue and you added 12 installers, you're going to get killed.
What?
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, well.
What's that?
What are you
Maybe you should let me talk to the baby. We'll get.
Okay.
He knows what's happening over here. He knows what's happening.
So cute. So dude, you got to pick your targets.
Right. So I picked a target. So my target,
how much revenue do you want to do this year?
2.5 million.
Okay. How many employees? What's your target of revenue per employee?
My target for revenue per employee is right now 250. Well, it's 500,000. So it would be 5 employees.
Okay. What is it actually running at right now?
So if I do the math, how it is now with the installers as 2, then it's running at 233,000 per employee.
Okay. So if you went and doubled your business and that number fell to 150, you're going backwards.
Right. Yeah.
But if you doubled your business and instead of 230 of revenue per employee, all of a sudden you're at 350 of revenue per employee, you're going the right direction.
Right. So yeah, I don't see how that's possible because if I do, let's say I sell 1 million and then he sells 1.5 million, that's 2.5 million. To actually produce that work, it's going to be at least another 4.5 guys for labor.
Well, but that's why you need to move from 250 of revenue per head to get the revenue per head. You got to get the revenue per head to go up. It's just math. You're overthinking it. It's just math. If you're going to go to 5 million, yes, you're going to have to hire some other people and everything. But if you went from 230 of revenue per employee down to 150, you're going the wrong direction. It's not. It's so you need to try to go up and add more revenue per employee. It's just a number you look at to see if you're becoming more efficient or less efficient.
Gotcha.
And if you come to the Finance Essentials workshop, they'll use the what if calculator to actually show you exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
Because you got to see it. It's hard to esoterically understand. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Esoteric.
That is the right word.
It's hard to understand. Some people aren't like, oh, just figure it out in their brain, but you start writing it down and you see what happens with the what if tool. It all makes sense. And then you run the calculations. That's why we have this program.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Speaking of the
God.
program, the Finance Essentials Workshop is happening March 5th and 6th here in Scottsdale, Arizona. It is the perfect time to be in Scottsdale, Arizona in the beginning of March.
Oh, it's going to
You
be,
might
the
even
weather's
catch-
so perfect.
Well, I hear the baseball people are on strike. Baseball
Oh.
people, the baseball teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know.
This-
I didn't know
this
they were
is-
on
I
strike.
keep up with current events through our team telling us these things, but I've heard that spring training is a little off. But you could try to catch some spring training if they're not on strike. But with that, would love to take another question. Let's get Jesse unmuted.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Hey. So one question I had on the KPIs, can you give me an example of like how many KPIs you might set for an average employee? Like your sales department, do they have 3 or 5 or?
3.
Yeah,
I think 3 is easy to understand.
I would love to make a differentiation. So in our organization, and you can like, I like to keep it simple, stupid. If you literally look up in Google key performance indicators versus metrics, key performance indicators are the things that you look at. There's a very small number of them, the things that you look at in order to know if the business is operating and you're going to get closer to the end result that you're looking for. Metrics are all of the minute things that you can be measuring with any given role, any given department. And so we assign metrics to our team members, and there really is a range. If it's a salesperson, we're looking at between 5 to 7 metrics. If it's somebody who's doing more consultative work, that might be 10 metrics that they're measured off of. And so it does depend on the flexibility of the role and the type of work that we're doing. I would never, ever, ever want to assign a team member any more than 10 things for them to be looking at. But there are certain roles that, you know, you would need 10 things for them to know if they're really doing a good job in that function. I try to target no more than 3 different metrics for paying out incentive comp, because I don't think people need 15 different ways to make more incentive. They need 3 things that they can actually say, okay, if I do these 3 things every single day to get closer to this, then I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get a better result out of that team member because they're focused on 3 things, not 10 things. But anywhere, it really does depend. So I don't want to give like a specific, like hard line around it, but anywhere between 3 and at the very top end, very, very top end, 10, maybe like 3 to 6 would be the right target
for KPIs.
for metrics.
The metrics.
I
And
think
then
this
do
is
you-
simpler. I think people struggle with like I think 3 to 5. I mean, she's right. No, it depends on what they're doing, but I would just give this piece of advice. I've never seen where measuring less than 3 is an effective measurement. And when you get over 5 or 6, it starts to get like kind of convoluted for people. So I personally would say between 3 and 5. Depending on the role, but since Natalie's managing all the roles in the organization, it's really hard to say that because that might be easy to do in sales, but it's not going to be easy to do in some of the other functions.
Totally.
So you got to pick your primary. I always talk about primary versus secondary KPIs. So whatever those primary KPIs are that you need to run the business by, like Natalie's got probably 15 primary KPIs for me.
Less. Much fewer.
All right, let's do this. A couple quick ones off here. Do these business models and programs apply for businesses in Australia? I have a good friend that he sold his business for 450 million in Australia this year. I helped him through that process. They have 115 stores there. It's the second time they've done it. The first one, I was going to buy their business and then helped them sell it about 8 years later for 480 million. And I can tell you that the numbers that they run their shops by are exactly the numbers we ran our shops by. Our average selling price, revenue per employee, profit margin per target, all was almost exactly the same in Australia as it was in the US. So when you live by these rules, now it's going to be different if you're in Mexico or you're in, some other part of the country or world, or I'm sorry, other part of the world, but you got to just convert the equations. So who do we have live for another question here?
Live. Do these things work?
Let's
in
go.
the
Philip
UK?
Chan. Have we ever asked Philip a question?
What's happening, Philip?
Hey, Philip, how are you, man?
What's going on, guys?
Hi.
Where are you from, Philip?
Hey, glad to be here. Moved originally from Hong Kong when I was 9 to Overland Park, Kansas, which is why it's one of my biggest pride to say that I'm both Hong Kong born and Jayhawk raised.
It's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
So listen, man, I'll be attending the GrowthCon. I've been following you guys since post-college, 2017. I was pre-med, did my master's under the med school. And right now I'm really living the entrepreneurial journey. So my biggest question is, I'm struggling to get started and gain sustainable momentum. And the biggest struggle that I have is, if I'm talking and prospecting, how do I convey the message of, hey, look, I'm basically just starting out. Everyone starts somewhere. But if they had a choice, right? So what I do is I'm a surgical business trainer and strategist. So I cover your services and needs in marketing, sales, leadership development, and mindset. But my biggest challenge is if you put me next to someone, okay, like a John Maxwell, like a Grant Cardone, someone who's established, and I'm trying to pitch myself, how do I, because, I've got a handful of clients right now, but how do I keep expanding since I don't necessarily have that track record
this is a really good question, dude. So maybe you should mute or turn down your speaker a little bit, but this is a really good question. So let me just tell you, because what happens, we talked about that confidence thing that Natalie talked about. And what happens is when you feel this imposter syndrome a little bit, then it breaks your confidence down. What you have to understand is that your contributions to other people are different than their contributions are right now. So most people, if you're not a Brandon Dawson, you're probably not rubbing elbows with John Maxwell or Jim Collins or Grant Cardone or Sharon Lechter or Robert Anthony. So the next best thing is, and I'll tell you a little secret too, because you mentioned what your expertise is. Many people that you're talking to are experts at what they do, but they haven't consolidated the best version of 4 or 5 or 6 other people in the forms of operations or leadership. So they're experts at what they do, but they're not going to go deep in what 4 or 5 or 6 other people teach in order to make what they do more impactful. So your hook is, you're not a John Maxwell. You're not a Grant Cardone. And I can relate directly to what you're talking about, because everybody that you mentioned, Grant Cardone, John Maxwell, and everybody I mentioned has imprinted and changed me. The secret sauce that I have, though, and this is what John Maxwell has said publicly about me, is I have an innate ability to take all this stuff that people are teaching and convert it into action that you can take in a way where people understand how to do it to create the impact. So you don't need to compete against the John Maxwells and the Grant Cardones. You just need to be your version of the knowledge and information that you've gleaned from them, that you've converted into a system where you can help somebody who's struggling through something that they don't know how to do. So your hook doesn't have to be on you selling yourself. Your hook needs to be on how you can help them solve a problem that they've already sold themselves on that they don't know how to fix. Mm-hmm. And you're taking the time, energy, and effort and the education to learn from multiple points of data in order to solve that problem for them. So don't spend too much time trying to justify why you're capable. Because if somebody said to you, dude, why would I take leadership training from you? You'd say, that's a great question. Here's the question I have back. Who do you take leadership training from? And if they're like, well, I take leadership training from my professor, so that's awesome. Good for you. The question I have for you is, what have you not been able to get from your professor that if you had somebody helping you, it could help you impact your business that much broader? So instead of me trying to sell you on me, why don't I just see if I can't help you in some areas of your business and build a relationship with you? And then you'll trust that the deep work I'm doing with these thought leaders, I'm able to convert that. So you don't have to go spend all the time, energy, and effort reading all the books and trying to put it all together, because that's what I've done.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take lots of data and break it down to the thing that you need right now in order to impact what you're doing in this moment. Do you want to go on my journey, or do you just want the answer, the collective answer from someone who's been on that journey? So sell the features, benefits, and advantages of you spending all that energy going deep and all that versus them spending their time, energy, and effort doing that when what they really love is the impact of what they do. Does that make sense to you?
He's muted.
Yeah, we'll unmute you.
Yeah, no, I love it. And the biggest thing that I'm getting feedback on as well is obviously, right, like the quickest way is to align yourself with power players. So, you know, that's what what I've been doing by being a 10X Platinum Accelerator member. Obviously tuning in here, and I'm be getting my John Maxwell leadership certification here in March. My big thing, right? Okay, so I was pre-med. I've worked with surgeons for over 200 hours in the OR room. One of my biggest strong suits is, because of that training, I bring a different sense of professionalism and precision in how I operate, right? So there's been different market feedback and renditions and to my services. Now, my fourth one was that I'm an organic marketing specialist, helping business owners transition and thrive in a digital economy without spending a fortune on paid advertising. From the fourth one, I'm embracing this fifth one, which is a little bit more expansive and comprehensive, where I'm not just covering marketing, but the sales, leadership, and mindset, just based off of, again, market feedback and client interactions. And that's where my new kind of branding as a surgical business trainer and strategist came about. What I'm curious is, since I'm no longer like saying, hey, I'm a specialist under marketing and I have all these things, how do I go about, you know, if I'm trying to, because there's these, right? Okay, like what's your irresistible and viral offer? Own your niche before expanding. But then, you know, Grant's like, okay, well, make sure you have multiple offers. You know, we have 10X ventures, 10X, you know, sales training, 10X marketing. So my biggest thing is, okay, market feedback says I should expand. But if I am expanding, then how do I adjust that pitch to where I can still let people know, hey, you know, I'm not a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I'd love to hop in here on this one. So market feedback might be saying or indicating that to you. I think one of the biggest things that you're going to struggle with, and the things that you said earlier give me this indication, is you need to become an expert and get stats in one thing. You can be all of those things. You can be in leadership, you can be in marketing, you can be in sales, you can help people build teams. You can do all of that as a strategist. You're going to come up against, you're young, you have a medical background, which all of those skills will be transitioned into what your new choice of career is, but you don't have the stats yet. Focus, like your only focus is not diversifying. It is getting stats in either marketing, sales, leadership, or building a team. It's nothing else. It's one of those areas. And once you get stats in that area, you will get people's confidence that you know what you're talking about in other areas, because you have this one thing that you can look back on and point to say, hey, I was able to do this here. But until you have that thing, people around you are going to feel like you are kind of polling to see, okay, what help do you need, or what additional areas, you know, and you're confident knowing that you went through all this medical school training. Like, that stuff is intense. You're clearly sharp and you will figure it out, but you need to pivot from looking at the other strategies and just make the one thing with the stats in that thing so undeniable to your customer. They're like, I have to have this person because they actually know what's happening in the digital economy, or they actually know what's happening from a sales process, or how to create an irresistible offer. But it has to be one of them, not all of them at first.
Yeah, her point is well taken. Is you can, you know, the reason that we present a 360-degree perspective on business is because we spent millions of dollars of research. We've got 20 years of data. We've run $1 billion already through Grant Cardone Ventures program. We measure the impact, many of people that are on here right now. So if you were to ask us, like, how do we have that credibility? We knew going into it, even though we said we understand all these things, the only way that we're going to have credibility, and I saw someone put it in the chat, Enrique did it. This is what Enrique trains on. Hi, I'm Philip. I help doctors increase their business by 30% in 90 days by doing XYZ. when you look to hire someone to help you, what's the number one thing you're looking for to justify working with them? That's how Enrique would pitch himself. Because at the end of the day, the point you're getting across is 30% or 50% growth. How you get there, most of them don't even care. They just want the growth. So you're overcomplicating what you're talking about because it's confusing, and where there's confusion, there's failure. You would be a perfect person, especially with your medical background. We're launching 10X Health. Are you going to GrowthCon, you said? Yeah, we're going to have some massive announcements, by the way. Oh my gosh, GrowthCon. Can you guys believe?
You want to share them all right now?
No, can you believe GrowthCon's already it's already in.
That was a joke. Why did everybody else is laughing? It was funny. It was funny. Okay.
GrowthCon's already in a month. I mean,
It's
it's
a
just
month.
crazy. It's here again. But I've been seeing everyone's been sending out, who are the speakers? Are you going to release the speakers? This will be the first GrowthCon where we're not telling anybody who's talking. And there's a reason for that. This is the magic of Grant Cardone. And I think this goes to his question. Grant Cardone's filling a room with 4,000 people without telling them what they're actually going to experience. You're confusing people by telling them they're going to experience too many things.
Yeah. And Grant was a sales expert for 10 years and he had all of these stats in sales. And then he was able to move into real estate and move into business and expand. But like he grooved in the thing that he was good at.
And after
Speaking
this
of-
GrowthCon, he won't ever have to tell anybody who the speakers are, because we are going to scorch the minds of the people that are there. The thing's been sold out now already for a month. We're all pressing to try to get GrowthCon tickets moved. We're telling people, I'm sorry, there's no room at GrowthCon.
And speaking of things that are almost sold out, GrowthCon is sold out, but Finance Essentials isn't. We only have a few spots left. This is not a big event. We don't have unlimited space. We do have limited space. And so if you are interested in moving forward with Finance Essentials, definitely contact our team right now. They are ready to talk to you, ready to move forward with helping you get clarity around your budgeting, your equity structures, your incentive plans, your targets, all things finance for your business, so that you can continue to have confidence in making potentially scary business decisions instead of having a lack of confidence, which could lead to poor results. So hit that QR code. Our team would love to connect with you. They are waiting, standing by for any questions that you might have about the Finance Essentials workshop. Brandon and I will be there. We can't wait to see you in person. There is also a virtual component. So if you're thinking to yourself, man, I don't know that I can make it in person in Scottsdale. I have some restrictions. Virtual is incredible. We have really upped our virtual game because we know that people really appreciate this option and want access to this
And
information.
if you're in another country or something.
Yes. And if you're in another country, it makes it so that you don't have to deal with all of the traveling. So let us know, go in the chat and say, I'm interested. If you are interested, and our team will be in contact with you, but make sure that you continue to connect with them so that we can get you signed up, because I think there's only 8 spots left. Last time I checked, there was 8 spots left.
Yeah. So absolutely. And so look, time is of the essence, and information and knowledge is power. Here's the dealio. If you go, we're going to start posting. In fact, this one will be titled How Brandon Dawson Turned $100 into 5 million. Or made 5 million, whatever I said at the beginning.
We
Anyhow,
got you.
we're going to be posting this on the Brandon Dawson YouTube channel. There you go, right there. One of the things that I'm committing to is building my YouTube this year. And so all our information, and there's tons of great shows on there. So I'd encourage you to go check it out. There's stuff from even 3 years ago or whatever. There's some oldies but goodies. So look, once again, this will conclude our 10X Owners Live on this beautiful Tuesday night. Thank all of you for joining us. My co-host, the remarkable Natalie Dawson. And from me to you, thank you for joining us. We appreciate all of you, and make sure that you have a remarkable week. And for some of you, we'll be seeing you this weekend in Miami.
We're going to pass it off to our amazing sales team. Guys, have an awesome and 10X Tuesday evening.
The whole purpose of this show is to engage with business owners and be able to answer questions for people that will give them some insight and perspective on how to grow and scale a business. Not only leadership, but real life examples. This is the golden moment. I would do business with you right now.